In the realm of real estate investment, the human element often tells the most compelling stories. Take Sarah, for instance, a single mom who ventured into real estate with a small duplex. She now owns a portfolio of long-term rentals. Her secret? Leveraging property management services to balance her busy life. Then there's Mike, a tech professional who used data analytics to pinpoint high return on investment locations for out-of-state investments. But it's not all roses. There are cautionary tales that serve as stark reminders of the risks involved. In Ontario, investors experienced a 20 to 30% decline in property values within just a year, leading some to financial ruin. So what are the timeless lessons here? According to experienced investors, due diligence is non-negotiable. Always research before you leap. Risk management is another cornerstone. Be prepared for market volatility and have a plan to mitigate risks. In essence, real estate investment is a journey filled with highs and lows. It's a path that demands due diligence, embraces risk management, and values the wisdom of those who've walked before you. Dustin, you're really big into education. You've got a great community that you work with. Can you share some of the lessons, like the human stories that you see on the positive side? And then I guess also, I'm hearing from this discussion that being a real estate investor is very much about personal growth. You're always learning. You have to be willing to make mistakes, and you're learning all the time. Can you speak to that?
Oh, absolutely. You're learning all the time. You should be networking all the time. You should be talking to as many people as you can. You should also be telling people that you're an investor. That, man, when I started telling people that I was an investor, in fact, we're still working a job. And it so happened that 100% of my money still came from my job. That's now my part-time job. I became a full-time investor. Started telling everybody that I was an investor because I knew that as soon as people saw me as an investor, I'd have more deals. So definitely you want to keep educating yourself. You want to keep growing. Now, as far as like cautionary tales, I'll give you one from myself. Like I followed what the gurus told me to do, and my property manager started stealing from me within 6 months. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. And if I would have just hung my head and said, "Woe is me," like this doesn't work and it will never work, well, I wouldn't be here today. Like Eric said, like I needed to, and I realized because I've always been entrepreneurial. I said, let me approach this from a business mindset. So instead of having a property manager, I just grabbed somebody across the street. This is what I did. I said, "Oh, you say you're a property manager. You got a pulse. Okay, you're probably good and trustworthy. Let me have you run my properties and run my business and make me money." Turns out that wasn't the right way to do it. The best way to do it is to literally interview multiple property managers, interview them multiple times so that they're going to be running the business for you. Another quick one that I'll give you is as I was building my business, I was buying property after property, like capital was keep going out, but then I was making money at the same time. But I took my eye off the ball. I guess my goal was to quit my job, become financially independent, but I started making a little bit more money. And I started spending money like I should. I started buying things I didn't need, going on trips. And with that, I had also bought like 3 properties. And at the same time, I had like 3 properties get evictions. So I had so much money coming out. And I was at the first time, I was like, oh my goodness, like I have so little cash coming in. And I remember instead of getting thousands and thousands of dollars a month coming in, I remember one check was like $215. I was like, what? No, it should be thousands. And I had so much money coming out. So my, I guess, cautionary tale is definitely build the business first, hire the right people. And at the same time, what my big suggestion is when you start making passive income from your properties, don't spend that, save that, because it's a snowball effect where it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The more properties you buy, like I said, if you get to 20 properties making you $250 a month, that's $60,000 a year that you could then use that every single year to buy another property and buy more properties. So cautionary tale, keep your eye on the prize of whatever it is. Like if it's just being financially independent, travel the world more. For me, is quit my job and become successfully employed. Go down that route. And above all, get trustworthy people in your business working for you, because you can't do this alone. Even if you try to manage it all yourself, you're going to have unless you're like 30 plus properties with Rich, you're not going to fix up every single property. You can, but there's not that much time in the day. You got to get the right people, hire trustworthy people that are going to do the work for you. And so with that, you're actually going to be skipping over so many problems and hurdles that I actually went through. So above all, get the right people in your business and keep your eye on the prize.
It sounds like everybody needs to be a very good manager. How do you guys decide when things aren't working out and you need to make a change, you need to fire somebody? Like, is that by gut? And how many second chances do you give versus you're like, I know I need to make a change and be decisive? Rich.
So when you say that, in my case, it makes me think of tenants, right? I mean, it makes me think of how late do you let somebody get? Now, of course, if you hire a property management company, they should have a very good system for doing that. But I've always found personally in managing my own properties that being a stickler about a late fee and being a stickler about like sending out eviction notices, not necessarily eviction notice, but like the notice of like, hey, you're going to get evicted if you don't catch up. I kind of do those things pretty early, right? I guess as soon as I can, as soon as I legally can, I just send them out. And I tell everybody in a very nice, friendly way, like, hey, this letter goes out. As long as you pay within the next 10 business days, it'll be fine. And I think that I kind of have a high standard for that. And most people just fall in line and I don't have problems. And then when people don't fall in line, then sometimes they have to get evicted. But I think by having that kind of tough standard, if you start to sort of let that go, like, oh, you know, they've got a great sob story, I'll give them another month. They've got a great sob story, I'll give them 6 months. Like you're 9 months behind and you're starting to believe and you realize that they've probably been lying to you the whole time. But that same thing can happen from a contractor that you have. That same thing can happen from a property manager that you have, as it looks like Dustin went through. I think that you kind of have to have a, this thing in your head has to go off where it's like, I've given them as much of a chance as I can, and now it's time to take serious action. And of course, for me, I had a 20-year military career, management, leadership, and all that. So
I want to jump in
I'm
too,
used
Rich,
to tough conversations. Yeah, go ahead.
I think you're 100% right on, and I think everybody will agree with me on this. That so everybody you need to realize this: real estate is not about properties. Get it out of your head that real estate's about properties. It's not about a property; it's about people. Same thing. A business is not about a product; it's about people. Life is not just about experience; it's about people. Everything in life is about people. That's why most of us here on the panel know each other already because we're all about people and we love helping each other. Now, real estate, when I say real estate's not about a property, it's about people. Every single time you interact with anything in a property, it's with somebody else. If you're going to be buying a property, the seller has needs. If you're a good buyer and you can help them with those needs, they're going to sell it to you. If you have an off-market property and they like, I just need to get out, I need to take care of my grandma, blah, 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 whatever it is, you can hopefully help them. Because once you figure out the person, then you're going to be able to figure out how to help that person. Same thing with your contractor. Your contractor is another person. If you're able to talk to them, see where they're coming from and understand them and make sure that they're doing the business right for you, remember, it's about people. But here's one thing I will absolutely give you. I learned this the hard way. So here it's 4 words when you're going to be hiring somebody and you're going to be managing people. It's hire slow, but fire fast. Hire slow, fire fast. So when you're hiring slow, that means you're taking, let's say, a month maybe to find the right property manager. Maybe you're taking 2 weeks, whatever it might be. But you need to not just, like I did, I just grabbed somebody and said, hey, you're a property manager, come manage my properties. Now with that though, you hire them and you interview them multiple times, as well as you ask them many, many questions and you figure out if they're the right person. But the last thing, you fire very, very fast. Now, I do give people a second chance. Like maybe they just didn't know, maybe they didn't understand my systems and procedures and processes that I give them to do, and they weren't able to follow it. I do give them a second chance because I think everybody deserves a second chance, but no third chances. Like you're done. I literally fire. In fact, I just got rid of a property manager probably about a month and a half ago. It was irritating because they had a good amount of properties and I had to change everything over, but I fired them fast. They were done. And so with that, you cut good money going after bad. You don't want to do that. You want to keep making sure that you're moving forward. So hire slow and fire fast.
Crystal, any final thoughts?
Well, definitely. We are in the people business at the end of the day. You know, we're landlords, we're individuals, we're not the big guys, we're the big people. And when you're investing in these properties, remember, it's a neighborhood. You're investing in a community. We were talking about something we saw on TikTok where some contractors came in, they demoed the wrong house. Luckily, one of the nosy neighbors stopped them. They're like, "Hey, what are you doing? We know who lives here." So imagine if you're like this absentee landlord, they don't know you, things can happen to your property and nobody will say a word. So if they don't know who you are, you're giving yourself a bad rap. So you're investing in a community, in a neighborhood, and at the end of the day, you're a person just like they are. So the more honest and down to earth and open, like I love Rich's point about having look, you're signing this contract. This is what happens. If X happens, Z is going to happen. I don't need the excuses like, okay, but this is what you signed. This is our agreement. Things happen. You can even help, try to get them help with paying rent. There are a lot of charities out there. There are a lot of programs out there. You can direct them to that. But, you need to fill this out by the due date because, time is ticking. And I'm a person just like you are. And you just have to be understandable and a down to earth, approachable person about these are the rules. I like you, but these are the rules.
I like that creativity. Eric, final thoughts?
Yeah, nothing too much to add on that. I feel like I got all the great points out there on hiring and getting the right people. I guess maybe one last thing to add is sometimes the people that you meet might not fit for one job, but that doesn't mean they're not the right person for another job. For example, we had a contractor who, maybe the scope of work was too big for him on the project we ended up firing him on and got someone else for. But actually recently we hired him back on for like a smaller cosmetic job because his crew was really great at that, but they weren't as good at a lot of the mechanical and bigger component type things. So just because a person might not make sense for one job doesn't mean that, you immediately axe them out for everything else. And he's been fantastic on the second job.
Well, thank you. I want to thank the panelists for this amazing discussion this evening on real estate investing. If I may do a quick wrap up, here are my takeaways for the Inspired Moneymakers. Number one is to learn the basics. We learned that real estate investing can be a good way to make money in the long run. Success in real estate is not luck. It's about knowing what's happening in the market. It's about knowing yourself. It's about learning all the time and being willing to go through ongoing education and making smart choices. Number two, we learned that while it's important to pick properties, it's also about the people. You need a team. You need to be able to manage the team. You need to be able to manage tenants in cases where you don't have a property manager. So sometimes you do that yourself. Other times you can outsource it. And to do well in real estate, you need to be good with money. You need to manage risk and you need to pick good locations and do the math before making a purchase. And then number three, rental properties can make you rich. They can cash flow. We learned that owning rental properties can help you to become wealthy. But it's not just about collecting rent. You need to be careful when choosing tenants, setting the right rent prices, following rules, and hopefully working with people that respect those rules. So rental properties can finally grow in value over time, helping you to become financially free. Once again, thank you to all the panelists. I encourage everybody to visit them and support them. Let's see if I can get this right. Rich Carey has a great TikTok channel, and you can also find him on YouTube at Rich on Money. Eric, I wasn't sure what link you wanted to have. I know that you have a compass.com
realtor. Instagram is best. Yeah, just hello, Eric Yu. Or if you're looking for more coaching help too, I've got the 9-to-5 escape plan.
Thank you for the help. Crystal, you can find at stackingdeeds.net, among many other places, whether you want to sew or do many different side hustles, which are awesome. Go find Crystal Hammond. And then finally, Dustin Heiner, you can find him at masterpassiveincome.com. Thank you guys all for joining me this evening. I want everyone to mark your calendars for next week. We've got episode 14, Vintage Dreams, revving up the classic car collecting experience. This is going to be another fun one because if you join me for wine collecting, I'm not a guy who drinks wine. I also don't have a classic car collection, so it's going to be all learning. That's November 15th, 6 p.m. on Wednesday. That's Eastern time. Please join us then. In the meantime, please go out and do something that scares you this week, because that's where the magic happens.